Is it possible that you have ever used the statement, "I take back my words"? Although it is a frequent adage, let's be honest. Once words leave your mouth, they can never be recovered. Nothing can be taken back. There is a person who has them permanently imprinted in their head. Make an effort to reclaim them. This is an action that cannot be undone. Would you have been happy if you hadn't said anything at all? How satisfied would you have been? What a powerful effect quiet can have. Sometimes the force of silence is greater than the power of 1,000 words. Take a look at the millions of words that Jesus spoke in his silence when he was being tortured and crucified. All of us have something to gain from him. How exactly does one go about harnessing the power of silence? To guarantee that your words convey power, authority, and respect, what are some ways that you might effectively practice purposeful silence? Before we go, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel. When you have mastered the power of silence, it does not mean that you should remain silent for the rest of your life and completely shun discussion. Words have a tremendous amount of power. There is no denying that. On the other hand, quiet possesses an even greater power. That is precisely what we are here to accomplish. The Lord. You will learn how the power of silence can greatly improve every aspect of your life, and you will discover how to harness this power. Your life has the potential to undergo a massive transformation for the better if you acquire the ability to refrain from speaking on occasion, particularly when you are bursting with a multitude of things to say. Some individuals only remain silent when they have nothing to contribute, but how many of them can maintain their composure when they are confronted with a multitude of thoughts, feelings, and disagreements? In the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 19, the Bible has a verse that reads, "Sin is not ended by multiplying words. Rather, the prudent hold their tongues." Do you take note of those who talk an excessive amount? Exaggerating, spreading lies here and there, gossiping, and talking negatively about other people are all things that they do frequently. If you do not exercise caution, you will wind up joining the league. Another thing that the Bible teaches us is that a person is deemed perfect if they do not insult others with their statement. Have a moment to reflect on this. None of that. Someone who has learned the ability to carefully select their words is not necessarily flawless. Rather, a perfect person is someone who is not without imperfections. They don't speak only to speak. Rather, they have acquired the skill of speaking slowly, even when they have a lot to say. Have you ever noticed that a person who is aware of the importance of silence possesses a certain amount of authority and charm, and they do speak? Because they are aware that this person does not speak mindlessly, people are eager to listen to what they have to say. Everything that they say is not only words, rather, it is brimming with wisdom and grace. As a person of value, it is precisely the kind of person you are destined to be. Others can be brought to grace or driven to despair by the words that they hear. Your words have the power to either inspire and motivate people or to disgrace and humiliate them. Are there any instances of cyberbullying that you are familiar with? The bullies in question do not resort to physical assault, but rather employ their verbal weapons. Allegations and confrontations were addressed by Jesus himself. However, he warned himself even though they filed serious accusations against him. Picture yourself in a position of equal power and authority to that of Jesus. It is possible that your instinct is to impose sanctions on those who have resisted you and to win the discussions, even if doing so requires you to forget about the rescue of humanity. How did Jesus behave? According to the Bible, Jesus does not speak when he is accused of something. In an attempt to defend himself, he refrained from speaking. Unfortunately, even though our tongues are quite small, it has caused a great deal of difficulty for a great number of people. Individuals' personalities have been harmed, households have been shattered, and irreconcilable disagreements have been sparked among friends. It is said in the Bible that you should always make sure that your communication is full of grace and seasoned with salt so that you can know how to respond to everyone. How often do you find that your remarks inspire other people? At this point, it is time to conduct an honest assessment. Do you know how many times your comments have helped someone pull themselves up from the depths of discouragement? On what frequency have other people expressed gratitude to you for benefiting them with your words? Or do you say what's on your mind without giving any thought to how the people around you could be affected by what you say? Friend, when you let your tongue control you, you wind up losing a lot of things. Although the Bible teaches us that we can make a horse more obedient by placing bits in its mouth, many people find it difficult to accomplish the same thing with their tongues. Bible. They can't exhibit self-control, control their mouths, or refrain from chatting. In the instance of the psalmist, this was the situation until he conducted an introspective analysis of himself and realized that he required assistance in maintaining his composure. It was in Psalm 141 verse 3 that he called out for control. Make sure that my mouth is protected. Always keep a watchful eye on the entrance to my mouth, Lord. Would you be willing to join him in praying that prayer from the bottom of your heart from this very moment? Are you going to make an honest assessment of yourself and pray to God for assistance in controlling your speech? In this society, when everyone seems to be talking, might the damage that has occurred in your home be attributed to the words that you have spoken? Take a moment to consider the influence you could have if you decided to pause and listen rather than interrupt other people. Is it possible that things would be better if you merely sat quiet and listened with greater attention? It is be that you are still unable to comprehend the significance of maintaining silence. First, let's investigate the remarkable power that silence possesses. In the first place, are you aware that remaining silent can help you avoid committing sins? There is no attempt in the Bible to minimize the great significance of quiet. Consider the narrative of Job, who, despite his pain, endured a loss that is incomprehensible to most people. The words that he spoke did not cause God any offense, even though he did not completely comprehend the situation that he was in. The name of the Lord was the one that he chose to bless. Job is aware that if he continues to speak foolishly while in anguish, he may end up saying things that are contrary to God's holiness. Consequently, he held himself back. If you were to find yourself in such a precarious circumstance, what actions would you take, and what sentences would you utter? Even when the circumstances are not as dire, many people still say things that hurt other people. We should return to the way of life that Jesus led and examine how he embodied the power of silence. When the pilot approached him, his silence conveyed a great deal of information. Jesus never felt the need to justify himself, even though the pilot acknowledged his absence of guilt. Moreover, he confronted Herod without the necessity of boasting or asserting himself through comments that were not directed. How frequently do we feel the need to demonstrate our presence by speaking or boasting about things that are not necessary? Because of Jesus' example, we are reminded that silence may be a very powerful tool. Choosing silence is an extremely essential talent, particularly when one's feelings are running high. Because of this, we can preserve our wisdom, express respect for others, and demonstrate our faith in the plan that God has for our lives. It is possible to differentiate ourselves from others and communicate our strength and maturity by embracing the power of quiet in a society where everyone appears eager to speak. We are instructed and guided by the Holy Spirit according to the text of the Bible. In addition to training students to memorize words, he also teaches them to think. The way that we should conduct ourselves in a manner that is nice and acceptable is something that he walks us through. When it is necessary, he restrains us, assisting us in determining when it is appropriate to speak and when it is more appropriate to remain silent. We are not only given the ability to remain silent, but the Holy Spirit also instructs us on when it is appropriate to do so. When the Holy Spirit is at work, he assists us in avoiding the misuse of our tongues, even though our human nature may entice us to talk without thinking things through. Remember the tale in 2 Kings 7 about how the king came to the help of the people during a time of famine? He questioned the prophets and the message from God, showing skepticism and contempt, and as a result, he passed away. He might have been spared the opportunity to observe the overwhelming power of God and the massive blessings that were bestowed upon the land if he had kept his mouth shut. It is clear from this that maintaining silence during critical moments can save our lives. The king's servant made a mistake with his words, which ultimately led to his death. Certain times of confusion and doubt were experienced by the disciples as well, particularly while they were feeding big crowds. However, they decided to go in a different direction. After receiving instructions from Jesus, they stopped asking and simply obeyed, and as a result, they were able to experience the overwhelming might of God.